was not on a bipartisan basis, but look, as you know, that, like the unemployment fund, is one of these things that's been, going underwater for a while, and I'm really proud that that fee, we're going to be able to stabilize at least the transportation fund for the near term. Senate has already passed marijuana, and I think you'll see the House do the same. Probably not tonight. Something about a talker. You guys can explain that to me, but it'll be passed within the next week. I'm very sure of that. Liz is here. She's working hard on the implementer, making sure that we have agreement on how all these things are being implemented and interpreted. That ought to be done certainly in less than a week. A couple of changes that were made that I feel very strongly about. They took out some of the money for workforce. As you know, I think when you talk about equity, you're really talking about giving people an opportunity, giving them a chance. It's not just about daycare and education. It's also about training them for the jobs that are out there. That's how these young people get the very best opportunity, and that's how we make sure that every single open job in the state of Connecticut goes to a well-trained Connecticut resident. So I want to see that money, where it ought to be. I think very important. We had community health workers. I'll tell you, one of the things I certainly learned, over the course of this last year and a half is you can't do everything online. And what we found in terms of our LEAP program, we were trying to get young people back into school. We're now doing that in terms of our community health workers. And I think it's really important we provide some of those services where folks can knock on door, provide health care for folks in disadvantaged circumstances who otherwise might not have that opportunity. I think it saves lives, gives them the best start in life. And finally, there were cuts in IT, information technology. I think that's a terrible mistake. I think, a little like transportation, it's not like, you don't wait for the bridge before you fix it. You don't wait for the bridge to go down. And same thing with IT. We're not going to let that happen again. We're trying to make investments in cyber security. And before anything happens, I want to be prepared. So I want to see that money back in the budget. I think we learned the hard way what happens when you put off investments in information technology. I saw that in Department of Labor about a year ago. We were getting hit hard and inundated by unemployment claims. We had a federal government that was changing the rules every month. That was a little complicated, and we had a old COBOL system dating back about 30 years, and it was really hard to keep up, and it caused a lot of pain and consternation unnecessarily. So that's why when you make these IT investments, you really can provide a much better service at much lower cost for people. What you saw in unemployment, we want to do in the social services and beyond. So we have a little bit of work to do, but I really want to leave it on a very positive note. It's a strong, progressive, bipartisan budget, on time, gives people a roadmap of where we're going to be 2 and 4 years out, and I think Connecticut's got a lot to be proud of, but we're not done yet. A little more work to do, so keep at it, guys.
Governor, Senator Fonfara used some pretty inflammatory language just now, expressing his disappointment that the budget, or presumably the tax side, is not more progressive. He compared the result in state policies to a knee on the neck of the black community and underserved community.
I heard he also used the word status quo budget a few times. Well, somebody's been in this building for 30 years, talking to somebody who's been in this building for 30 months, trying to make a difference for the state. I take exception to those comments. I think this is an incredibly important, transformative budget. I think it makes a big difference in people's lives, especially the lives of people who've been hardest hit by the pandemic, especially in the lives of black and brown people, the likes of which hasn't been done for 30 years. And I think you're finding it getting done right now, and I'm really proud of the folks in the building doing it.
Governor, would you talk a little bit about the more aid to cities in this budget?
Yeah, we've got the biggest significant investment in cities, and it's not just out of the Rescue Act money. It's also what we're doing ourselves in terms of municipal aid, what we're doing with ECS. And it goes to what I've said during the campaign, going back 3 years, that Connecticut won't be great unless our cities and towns are great. And we had some work to do there. We had some catching up to do there, and I think this budget's making a big difference. And I think we learned a lot out of COVID. I really believe that outdoor dining and bringing our cities back to life, free Wi-Fi in downtown, those are all things that are going to help make this an incredibly attractive place to be. I'm so impressed with the thousands of units of housing being built, market rate and affordable housing, Bridgeport, New Haven. I was just there with the housing scene, what you see in Bridgeport and Hartford. It's extraordinary. I think you're going to see investments made today that make a big difference tomorrow.
Governor, can you talk about the highway usage fee and why that's important for the state?
Yeah, the highway usage fee on the big tractor trailer trucks that rumble their way through the state of Connecticut, where they pay tolls, they pay highway usage fee in New York and our neighboring states. Now we're going to get some additional revenues. We use that to provide state of good repair for our roads and bridges. I come from the town where Minus River Bridge collapsed. We're not going to let that happen. We can make investments. I know the Gold Star Bridge, New London, Groton, the trucks can only go over it in one direction. And you just can't put off paying your bills and making the investments you got to. And I was, struck by the, comment by the, truckers lobbyist who said, watch out. A lot of the big tractor trailer trucks may avoid your highway user fee and end run Connecticut. Well, that's not so bad either. We have a little less traffic on the road, a little less asthma for the people who live along the road, and we'll still have the resources we need to make investments we got to.
One other thing they said was that this fee may be passed on to the consumer. Are you confident that it will not?
What the lawyers have got to understand is things are priced by what the market will bear. If the price of a widget goes up 1/10 of a cent, it doesn't mean you automatically pass that along. You're going to have, the truckers who are going to decide whether they cut their margin a little bit. They got a 30-40% margin. UPS had their most successful year ever last year. So I'm not losing a lot of sleep that there's a tiny fee. And by the way, when that orange comes up from Florida, I've said that before, they pay that fee in Florida, they pay it in Georgia, we pay it. We pay it the whole way up, and then they come to the charity state, Connecticut, where they get to drive through for free, no longer.
Governor, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with the legislature this year
We're getting to know each other. No, Matt was just in, Jason was just in. I congratulated them on what they were able to accomplish. I thought it was really important getting that budget done on a bipartisan basis. That's a rarity around here, and I was really impressed. And I think we had to push and shove. Let's face it. Some people wanted to raise taxes. Some people were really, wanted to make the long-term investments. I think we were able to make the key long-term investments without raising taxes, and I think we got that done. And I'm pretty darn sure the Senate's going to follow suit on a bipartisan basis by the end of today.
In terms of the cannabis bill, it's going to have to start all over from scratch. The House and the Senate are going to have to vote on a new bill. Will you entertain any significant revisions to this legislation that passed in the Senate, or is the...
I hope not. Why? I mean, it passed in the Senate, which is important. It would pass in the House if people didn't want to talk about it for 12 hours, but let them talk about it for 12 hours and then vote on it. My hunch is they can't get it done by 11:59, but they will get it done within a week.
The House Speaker seems somewhat annoyed by the fact that it's not going to get done today. He really wanted it done in a special session and says that, on the other side of the aisle there, we're going to talk it. And now going back, it's a waste of resources and time to come back, and you could lose momentum.
Well, we're not going to lose momentum. It will pass, but, I told Christine, I'm still figuring out the legislature a little bit. Why do you want to sit around at 3 in the morning saying the same thing that the last 8 guys have just said for another 4 hours? But if that's what they want to do, we'll vote when they're tired of talking.
Well, maybe because the bill came out on a Saturday night, there was a provision in there that people found highly suspect, and then the Senate didn't send it down to the House until Tuesday morning. Are the Republicans being unreasonable when they say they would like a full day to debate this?
All I know is I submitted a bill to the legislature 4 months ago. I can't control what happened from between now and then. But look, if they want a little more time to read it, God bless them. They got a little more time to read it.
And it might be too early to ask, but I will anyway. I mean, you haven't really said whether you're going to run or not, but having Republicans on board with a bipartisan budget has to, are you going to help use that? Do you think that's a good way to run?
Well, I think those are two unrelated questions, but I'll answer the second one. I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to work together on both sides of the aisle to get a budget done. A vast majority of people on both sides of the aisle think is the right thing to do for the state.
Hey, Governor, tomorrow is the deadline to sign the clean slate bill. What's your feeling? Are you going to sign it, send it back, let it go into law without your signature?
Look, my instinct is I'm going to sign it. I got to look at the final draft. I got to see what the category of Class D felonies, I guess, was added on top of misdemeanors. But the guys I've been talking to say it's a pretty responsible thing to do, and we'll probably sign it.
So, you're right. So when you say probably, when are you going to make a decision? Because
I don't know. When am I going to make a decision?
Yeah, it's up tomorrow. You got some time, you know.
Maybe tomorrow.
Has the speaker told you that he has the votes? You're standing here. You seem pretty confident and calm that the pot bill will pass.
Yeah, they both said they've got the votes to get it done. You know, it's just one of those things that they've been debating in this state for ages, and going back, I don't know, 8 years, something like that, 9 years. It's nice to clear the deck and take care of some of these long-standing issues in a responsible way. State pier, that was hanging around for a long time. How about iGaming and sports betting? You and I were Greenwich Time and Selectmen when they first started talking about that. So I'm glad to see we're making progress on these things at long last.
How much do you think the legislative process has suffered just from the logistical hurdles of COVID? And are you, going to be eager to see this building sort of be opened back up to the sunlight of public scrutiny?
I certainly miss the energy. I miss the I understand why they wanted to err on the side of caution. But I think next year we're going to be back to normal.
What are you going to do now? The session is over. What's your game plan?
Yeah, we're going to go around the state, maybe take a little break, first of all. Go around the state, talk about how this bipartisan budget will impact your town, your community, your kids. I think that's important. And we'll have some new businesses we're ready to announce who are very serious about the state of Connecticut. Stay tuned.
Hey, Governor, Matt Ritter said that he's open to including TCI in the special session. You going to push him for that? If so, are you going to go around the state and try to sell it again?
Look, I talked to Rhode Island. I talked to Massachusetts. We had some southern states really ready to go. John, they were really surprised that a state like Connecticut, which everybody thought was such a leader on the environment, stepped back when it came to Transportation Climate Initiative. But putting a small fee on pollution that would be paid for by, petroleum wholesalers, seemed like something we ought to be able to get done. But I'll see from the legislature. Maybe it takes a little longer than that.
I mean, the Republicans did a full court press on this. All the no tolls people came out and labeled this, a gas tax. Do you think that maybe you or the supporters could have been a little more aggressive, maybe marketed this a little easier for people to understand?
Look, maybe, but by the same token, I think the people who said, heck no, we're not going to allow this, I think young people stand in front of my office, when they were allowed to stand in front of my office, they always asked me about the environment. They said, are we taking this seriously, you, the adult generation? And it just seems to me that a lot of people pay lip service to the environment when it comes time to stand up. What that meant, TCI meant in terms of asthma along our main arteries, what that meant in terms of being able to do a lot more in terms of resiliency along our main right-of-ways. I think we lost a big opportunity there, but the door's not shut.
Do you think the public really understood what TCI was and how it would help?
Yeah, I think they understood, it's complicated in here, and there's a lot of misinformation. I mean, I had to deal with misinformation on COVID every day. But I think people basically understand. I think the legislature is out of step with where people are. I think they want to make modest investments to make a big difference on the environment.
And
Hey,
Governor,
one last question.
People at the Medical Freedom Rally outside the Capitol today were expressing some concern. They have this feeling that the COVID vaccine is going to be mandated for school children come the fall. Do you have any plans to encourage that, or would you encourage the legislature to do that?
No plans, but I am noticing that Pfizer is probably going to be coming out sometime in the next 30, 60 days with the vaccines for younger kids still. It obviously allows our kids to go back to school safely without masks in the fall. And hopefully I'll be able to get everybody vaccinated so we can do that safely.
You wouldn't mandate?
No, I'm not big on mandates. Hopefully everybody's going to do the right thing. They have so far. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Yep, they do.